Got better? 9 minutes past 7 the time now.
Now, private landlords are warning they may have to put up rents as a result of tax changes that come into force next week.
From April the 6th, the amount of tax relief they can claim on the interest on their mortgage payments will fall to the basic rate of 20%. Previously, they're entitled to up to 45%.
Well, according to the latest figures, the number of landlords is increasing. There are currently 1.75 million in the UK.
In total, they banked more than, £14 billion in rent, but the vast majority are part-time.
87% of them are individuals and most own only one property.
The government says these changes to the tax system will create a level playing field between regular homeowners and buy-to-let investors. With us now is Chris Town, the Vice-Chairman of the Residential Landlords Association. What do you think the impact of this will be?
Well, clearly the impact is going to be an upward pressure on rents, because landlords increasing the tax burden significantly is bound to put pressure on rents for tenants.
So the direct result, you're saying, is that a lot of people will have to pay more rent?
Well, there's a number of results. Rents are one thing. Disinvestment by landlords whose business model now won't work, because instead of the interest being allowable against tax, it's now going to be taxed. So it will increase costs significantly for some people, particularly people with higher loan-to-value rates. So they're going to be affected first, and they're going to have to disinvest before this takes effect, or before it bites.
But the current tax system actually gives buy-to-let landlords an advantage over regular homeowners. You can see that that's not quite fair?
That's the Treasury's view. In fact, landlords pay more tax than homeowners. Clearly, if a homeowner sells a property, he doesn't pay any tax on the profit is made on that sale. So if he's bought it for 20,000, sold it for 30, there's no tax payable. If a landlord does that, he has to pay tax on that capital increase.
But could you argue that a landlord is more likely to have more than one property, and
well, it's a
homeowner is less likely to sell a property regularly?
Of course. It's a business, and it should be treated like all other businesses. All other businesses can deduct interest costs on finance from their profits. This new tax will change that. It's the only business that's affected by these tax changes.
Will you understand, you've probably come across this already, people don't have a great deal of sympathy with landlords who own a lot of properties, because we are talking, aren't we, about those who have the biggest portfolios. We're not talking about the people who've got one rented property or maybe two. We're talking about those who have much more than that. And on the whole, I think people possibly won't have much sympathy for the idea that maybe your profit margins are slightly less.
It's probably more the other way around, to be honest, because people with a lot of property, generally been in the business many years, generally have lower loan-to-value rates. So they're going to be less affected, plus have more properties to cover that increase in tax. People with one property, say for instance someone is working and they've got the need to work if they only had one property, and say they earned about $35,000 a year, and their little portfolio was costing them about $10,000 a year in interest. That's deductible against tax until Thursday. After Thursday, that deduction then goes into their profit pot. So that lifts them from a basic rate taxpayer to a high rate taxpayer at 40%, and that's when this change kicks in. It doesn't affect basic rate taxpayers, but many people, unknown to them probably, will be subject to this increase in overall tax.
What would make it fairer for you?
What would make it fairer, one of our proposals to the Treasury has been that if this was to be implemented just for new borrowing, so landlords purchasing new properties, adding to supply, new mortgages on those properties, this could be applied to those. But of course, when people purchased property years ago, that was a different business model, and the tax changes have radically changed that business model.
We'll leave it there for now. Chris Town, thank you very much. Chris Town is from the Residential Landlords Association.